Welcome back, Maya TV. I'm here with Ray Rowan.
Yes, thank you.
He's a filmmaker, producer, editor. He does many things.
Many hats, yes.
Yeah, he's here to talk about a special project that he's done.
Yep. So we recently released a documentary film titled Concussed: The American Dream, directed by David Kano, executive produced by David Kano, Brett Favre, produced by myself, and Zach Tatarin as well. So we're excited to share the film and continue to talk about it and have people learn about the story of Tyler Sash, which is what this film is really about.
Yeah, tell us about his story.
Yeah, so Tyler played sports from a very young age. These are spoiler alerts here for the film, but he played sports at a very young age and basketball, and then he transitioned into football. He went to college in Iowa and for the Iowa Hawkeyes, and he eventually made it to the NFL. He played with the New York Giants, and in his first year, the team went to the Super Bowl, which is a big thing to do because many people go their whole career striving to go to the Super Bowl or even to the playoffs. So it was a big moment for him in his life and his family. We've seen pictures the family showed us of him going there. But eventually he was cut from the team, and he lost his life at a young age of 27. And so what this film is about is CTE in players, which can only be found post-mortem, so not until they're dead. And their brain would have to be donated. His was donated to Boston University, the CTE Center, with Dr. Ann McKee. And they basically slice into your brain to see whether or not you have CTE and what stage. And he actually had the highest stage of CTE at the time.
Oh, wow.
For someone that young. After that, Aaron Hernandez, his story is well known. He was even higher after that. But so Tyler is a special story. What's interesting about him is we went to Iowa, there in his hometown of Oskaloosa, Iowa, and everybody we talked to, we bring up his name, everybody knew who he was. He was a very giving person. We heard stories of him helping children, giving clothes, new shoes, because he would get these items, and he really helped people in need. So he was a very well-respected and well-known person there in the city of Oskaloosa, Iowa. So we parallel that story with Brett Favre, who played in the league for 20 years, a long time, especially for a quarterback. Household name. If you don't know football, still pretty sure you've heard of Brett Favre. So we tell his story. We were able to go out to his house, and we actually interviewed him multiple times, but we got to kind of go to his house. He shared stories about his career as well. So all of that is featured in this documentary.
Now, can you explain to our viewers what CTE is?
Yes, CTE is chronic traumatic encephalopathy. Very difficult word to say, but I've learned to say it. What's happening is people are getting many subconcussive blows to the head. So a lot of times people are thinking, well, I've never had a concussion. And it's not just the concussions, it's all the small hits that are adding up over time that are leading people to have this disease. And like in Tyler's case, he was 27. There's even cases younger than that in high school students who have a lot of times taken their own life because these people are experiencing different issues, whether it be anger, or they can't control their their emotions and whatnot. So, and that's already a tough thing to do at a young age, in high school. So to throw this, to be playing football all your life from, say, Pop Warner or youth football up until high school, they're seeing this disease found in a lot of these athletes. And this goes into other sports as well, not just football. Even sport GB, surprised to hear about. Soccer, gymnastics, other things as well. So chronic traumatic encephalopathy, it's basically a neurodegenerative brain disease. So when you're alive, they cannot find it in you. You have to wait till you pass. And so a lot of times these families are unaware of what's going on with the person. Now, some people might have a traumatic event, a TBI, as they call it, traumatic brain injury, where it's like, okay, something maybe for sure happened, even like by getting into a car accident. But yeah, it's a tough subject, and we sat in with a lot of families and athletes who are dealing with these issues, various different ages, and a lot of people are struggling. So we're just kind of here to share Tyler's story and then kind of shed light on what's happening to the athletes that you don't hear about.
So how did you get involved in this project?
Right. So I met David Kano, the director of this project, many years ago. Back in 2014, we used to cover the sport of MMA, mixed martial arts, boxing as well. So we'd go to the different events, kickboxing as well. So Glory, Bellator, UFC, these different events, and interview different athletes and whatnot. So that's how we kind of got involved working with each other. And a lot of behind the scenes work, sports work, we'd make like kind of mini documentaries on these athletes as they either prepare for a fight or interview them as well after a fight. So sometimes it's a good interview because they just won, or it's not a good interview because they got knocked out and they got to go back to the drawing board and see, do they want to do another fight? Or do they have it in them still? And so we hope to do a follow-up. We are doing a follow-up to Concuss the American Dream on both boxing and MMA as well. So that's something we've seen with a lot of these athletes because they're getting hit in the head all the time, not just in the ring, the 25 minutes in the ring, say for example for MMA. They're training, they're constantly sparring, they're constantly taking hits. And it's these small subconcussive blows that I mentioned that is really doing the damage. And a lot of people, you do see it in boxers, they have the term punch drunk, or they have a slur when they speak, with their speech. And sometimes it's real noticeable down the line. But a lot of times for different sports, it may not be noticeable, but it may cause these athletes to act erratic or act a certain way that they normally wouldn't do, or that their personality is normally not like. So yeah, we're just shedding light on this topic here, and that's how I got involved with the director David Kano on this, and he's just really pushed this forward because this has been a process, and he's definitely the the leader of this as far as getting it done, reaching out, and meeting Tyler's mother and his family and whatnot. That was a difficult situation for her to open up and share his story with us and her emotions, and it's seen in the film.
Now let's talk about the process of making this film. How do you get people to appear in this film and talk about such a difficult subject and something difficult to happen in their lives?
Yeah. So luckily we were already interviewing athletes, so we kind of had some connections, but it definitely starts with one interview. You got to get it filmed and see where you're heading, which direction you're heading with this. And that just kind of like spirals in a good way. You meet one person and it leads to another interview. And then they hear what you're doing and recommend like, hey, you should talk to this doctor. And so that's something too. We talk to doctors in the medical field that we include in this documentary. So there's a human side, entertainment side, sports entertainment, and then as well some medical information that's weaved into this as well. So we've seen and heard a lot of different stories, and it's just been kind of a roller coaster of emotions because you're meeting athletes who are well known and whatnot, and they might not want to open up and share their story about what they're dealing with that people don't see. They just see them on the big stage or on TV, in pictures, whatever, media, but in their personal lives they may be struggling, and that's what a lot of people are struggling with.
Now, Antoinette, this was a big project that took you all over the country.
Hmm.
So tell us about the process of doing that, of traveling,
Yes.
and how long did it take to make this?
Yeah. So we started in 2016, I believe it was. So like I said, it started with one interview and then obviously continued on. We took multiple road trips and whatnot and did fly to different locations as well. I think it was something like 29 states in 33 days. So
Wow.
the time on the road was, going from one place to another, one state to another, have an interview at 10 a.m. and have to be somewhere else by 2 p.m. And then we have a 1 or 2 hour long interview. So, which includes, sometimes carrying the camera through the snow upstairs, putting up the lights, taking down the lights, going to the next location, realizing you don't have gas. Are we going to make it? So, just really going full throttle with it. And like I said, the director, David Kano, really was, took the lead on this. And it's great to see it where it is now.
Now, I understand that you had a very small crew working on this. And so, as I said earlier, you had to wear many different hats.
Right.
So, did you have to learn all these things on the job? Or did you come in like knowing how to do this from
Right.
different
Yeah,
companies?
I knew most of the things. I'm familiar with miking a person up, putting up lights, working different cameras and whatnot. My kind of expertise, I would say, is editing, which kind of led me to the journey of filmmaking. Because I wanted to edit something, led me to figure out at a young age, okay, how do I get this on a computer? How do I edit it? And then looking back at your footage and realizing, okay, I need to do better camera work. So from when I first started, like in the year 2000, so it's been like 24 years now. It's been quite a journey. So I've picked up a lot of knowledge along the way, but there was definitely some learning moments as well. Like I said earlier, you meet these athletes and, sometimes it can be nervous and then a nervous situation because you're excited to meet them as well. But then also, like I said, we've been places where we're walking through the snow. And we've been other places like Las Vegas where it's hot and we got to get into a casino or something and find an athlete to interview them. So a lot of it too is reaching out and communicating and meeting these different people, which is different from most scripted, stories where, so this is just a lot of hands-on and figuring it out as you go, especially with documentaries.
Had you worked on any documentaries in the past that prepared you for this?
I've done a lot of short form documentaries. For example, me and David covered the Lodi Cycle Fest. I edited that one. They have a winery or something up there, and they do like a bike race in Lodi, California. So that was one, for example. I've done longer form, kind of like a rockumentary about this band called Monkeys in Space. They did a tour of their own around the U.S. in a van, and pretty interesting to see like a small time band kind of travel. Their van breaks down before they can get home to their hometown show. So it's kind of interesting. And so, yeah.
Were you traveling around with the band?
No, I was not. So in that instance, they gave me the footage and then I edited it. So sometimes it's good to not be there because you just have what's within the frame. So you're looking at all that material.
So was this the first time that you were like really there with the people?
I would say to this scale, as far as this project, because we interviewed over, I've lost count now. It used to be over 70. I think it's pushing 80 plus. Athletes, doctors, family members, things like that. So definitely to this scale. Now we've interviewed, like I said before, athletes in boxing and MMA during an event, which that might be a handful of people for a weekend, but for this scale, this was the first time as far as that.
Now, what have you learned working on this project?
Well, I definitely learned what chronic traumatic encephalopathy is. I played youth football when I was younger. probably like third grade up until high school. I played 1 year in high school. And I definitely felt the hits in high school. So I'm glad I didn't I'm glad I didn't continue playing the length that I did. Although I did really enjoy it. And, we're not really putting down football. We're just exposing the information so people can be aware of it. But I think football has a lot of positive aspects to it. Again, teamwork, it can make you build, grit and help somebody who maybe is lost or, doesn't know where they're going at a young age. It can really help a young person, mold them to be a strong, better person.
What do you want audiences to take away from this film?
Yeah, so we just hope they can tune in. It's on Apple TV, Amazon Prime, Tubi, other streaming platforms as well. Tune in and hear Tyler's story. His mother really shares a lot of the grueling stuff that she dealt with, and just like I said, a lot of people don't know what goes on behind the scenes. So that's what happened here. And so here it is, the hard copy.
Also on DVD if you
as
prefer
well.
physical media.
Yes. So we're happy to see this as well, because physical media is kind of going away. And so nowadays it's streaming on these different platforms. And, I was telling you earlier that sometimes, this would be kind of like the equivalent of being on the shelf at Blockbuster back in the day, or Hollywood Video or whichever video store. So aside from it being on streaming platforms, we're excited for that because they're at the fingertips of anybody. They can watch it for free on Tubi with commercials, or
you
purchase
keep
it online.
It's not gonna go off.
Yeah, and this you can keep it, and it is interesting. It's print. You see pictures.
Yeah.
Tyler's on there right there. So, this is Brett Favre here on the cover. So, we're definitely happy to share this, and we hope that they take away and really hear about Tyler's story, but then also be aware of what can happen to your son or daughter or your little brother or your nephews and nieces in whichever sport they play. Now this one's on football. Like I mentioned before, we have a couple follow-ups here, one with boxing and one with MMA. This was at one point supposed to be one big documentary, but my initial edit was about 8 hours long, so we didn't know which way we wanted to go as far as, you want to make this a series, where there's 8 different episodes, 12 different episodes. There's kind of no rules nowadays as far as, people will really tune into anything if they enjoy it, like we see with a lot of these shows. So, but we decided to turn it into their own separate documentary films, and that way we can focus on each individual story that's being shown.
Well, thank you so much for being here with us and sharing this film. And audiences, please go check it out on Apple TV, on Tubi, and you can get a physical copy of your own. Thank you so much. Go watch Concussed: The American Dream.
Yes, also at concussfilm.com.
Bye.